everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, the show where we talk about all the crazy stupid stuff that people do in marketing and how you cannot do crazy stupid stuff. That's really the point of the show. What is crazy and what is stupid? So for the definition of this show, the definition of crazy is those things that you do over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And stupid being the things that you do and you don't know why you do them. You just do them because someone else told you that you should. So these are the types of things that we are going to break down in not just this conversation, but in all of the conversations on the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show. And this is what we are going to do here together today. I'm going to jump kind of ahead to the whole concept of everybody else getting into the conversation because we have a lovely LinkedIn user who is joining us from the UK, although unfortunately StreamYard isn't telling me who you are. But if you would like to tell me who you are, we would love to recognize you by name as well. This conversation is a conversation for everybody. And so, Christiana, welcome.
Christiana.
Yes, LinkedIn, I don't know. It's a permissions thing, but don't even worry about it, Christiana. Now we know that it's you. This is a conversation for everyone. So while it might look like a conversation for two people, if you are watching us on the video version of this, the more people who get into the conversation, the more robust of a conversation we can all have. And we, as the faces on the stream, also love questions and new information and new perspectives and all of those things. This is not there's no predefined path for any of these shows. So if you ask a question or whatever, you're not going to knock us off our rhythm. This is what we are here to do. We're here to get into a conversation about the topic of the day, which I will get to in a moment. But if you are watching us live, whatever streaming service you are on or whatever platform you are on, there is a chat mechanism, a comment section. So please feel free to share with us your thoughts, your perspectives, your questions, your queries, your insights, your experience, all of the good stuff. It makes the conversation more robust for everybody. Okay, usually I say that after I introduce the topic, but whatever. We're doing things a little bit backwards today, and this is what we do on this show, is we go with the flow. So today we're going to be talking about the value chain. And specifically, the show is about marketing, so the value chain in marketing. The value chain is something that exists throughout your entire business. But very commonly, when we look at marketing and we look at sales, we talk about funnels and how things like move through a funnel. Today, we're going to pivot that a bit by re-influencing this concept of the value, because there are a lot of people who get distracted from the value that a business provides. And then if we get distracted from that for too long, we end up not providing that value, especially part of the marketing chain. So we're going to talk about all of those things today, why that happens, how we can fix it, all of the good stuff, how that's different than purchasing pretty much anything that is connected to value chain, which I mentioned is pretty much all the parts of your business. So before we do that, because we are going to jump into deep conversation, let's learn a little bit more about our guest here today. So Islam, would you share a little bit more about you and why this is an arena of marketing that you love to play in?
Sure. Let me first say that I'm excited for today's show. Tracy is a friend and a dear friend of mine, and I think that this show is going to be an amazing show. I thank everybody who was attending and everybody who was going to watch this show afterwards. For those who don't know me, I'm Islam Gouda. I'm the marketing maestro. I'm a 360 degrees marketeer, award-winning marketeer. I recently got awarded the AMA for Under 40 Emerging Leaders Award for 2025. I worked in Middle East. I worked in the UK. I worked in the US. I help companies shift their focus from the monetary value of the services and the products to the intrinsic value of having an exchange, value-driven relationship, community-driven relationship with their customers. And I help them also have a presence in the Middle East and Africa, since I have foot in the East and the West. So I help companies from the US, from the UK, specifically SMEs, small to medium enterprises, to thrive, to use the scarce resources into their benefit. And I do it on a consultancy basis, I do it on a project basis, and I do it with the uh, uh, our Revenue Marketing Alliance and the CMO Alliance in the UK. I help companies build rapport with their customers, and I help customers reap the benefits of the products and the services provided by the companies.
So all of the things, Islam does all of the things in terms of marketing, as you guys heard. Okay, but you touched on something that I think is really interesting here, is this concept of the intrinsic value. Okay,
Yes.
so we've done couple conversations on the show about pricing and how we can like show people this intrinsic value with your price, but what are some layers of this intrinsic value that we need to start uncovering in order to get to this like honest, authentic value that it is that we are bringing to the market that is different than what our competitors are bringing to the market?
Value is more than, it's perceived more than given. So the best tool to discuss value driven marketing is discuss it through generational marketing. And I had a conversation with you earlier regarding the Generation Z and millennials and all of that. And it's perceived by the generation that's being given the product or the service. So, for example, if I'm driving a Harley Davidson and I'm a millennial, I'll be looking at the baby boomers as my role model. But if I'm a Gen Z and I'm seeing millennials driving Harley Davidsons, I'll not look at them at my role model, because Gen Zs are more into sustainability, more into modernity, stylish style stuff. That's why companies like Harley Davidson and old style companies are facing a dilemma here. And this dilemma is basically the intrinsic value that is transcending between generations. So generational value is something that should be considered by the company or the stakeholders that are internal to the company. Generational value is something that's of huge importance. For example, a company like Patagonia will be great for Generation Z, but it will not be well perceived by baby boomers for one reason or the other. For example, Starbucks, it might be well perceived by Gen Zs, but millennials, they prefer Tim Hortons if they are in Canada, for example. So it's geography, it's perceived value, it's generational value, it's how value transcends from one generation to the other, and how value is being perceived. Value as an intrinsic quality is something that I perceive as a person, as a generation. It's not something that is given to me by the company.
Oh, I think this is a really important thing for people to realize, is that as much as we might try from a brand perspective to influence our buyers or influence humans, let's put it that way, we do not decide how they perceive us. And very commonly, how we perceive ourselves is not the way that other people are perceiving us. I was having a conversation with my friend Barry on his podcast earlier today. Stay tuned for that to be released. But we were talking about customer research as well, and this opportunity for us to get into conversations with our actual people who are perceiving us in their way, to understand how they are perceiving us. And that, so in your experience, Islam, where is the role of market research, customer research in this overall value chain of marketing?
It starts with TOEFL. So there's TOEFL, there's MOFO, and there's BOFO, top of funnel and middle of funnel and bottom of funnel. So it starts at the top of funnel when the people are trying to make a decision about the product or the service they're trying to buy. So it starts at the customer themselves. So for example, if I'm looking at the customer that is wanting to buy, I don't know, a new house, for example, or a car or whatever. So the decision-making process that they start with is the most important and critical and crucial key point that the company should look after. Because basically, this is the point that they consider and do research and much more research. Customers nowadays are aware, they are tech fluent, they are fickly, and they are looking for cost and differentiation. And value chain is about cost and differentiation. It's about the blue ocean and the blue ocean and the red ocean strategy. So, for example, if I'm looking for a company that's like Apple, for example, I'm looking to buy a Mac. So I will never compromise Mac for another laptop like Lenovo or whatever. Um, I'll make a decision in an instance, especially if I'm a market leader, innovator, sort of speak. So it starts at the tofu. The tofu, this is the top of the funnel, the decision making starts from, where the customers do research and understand why they should buy this product, what does this product resemble to them, how they can cope with their peers looking at them when they buy their product, because peer review or peers when you buy a product is also influential to your buying decisions. So this is the crucial part, the tofu and the mofu and the bofu. This is the key points that companies should actually focus on.
Okay, so when we talk about this, let's kind of roll this back a little bit, because I think similar to the words crazy and stupid, where people might define them in lots of different ways, there's probably lots of different ways people are experiencing the word value. So before we get like too deep in this conversation, even though we're like a quarter of the way through it already, but like, let's just roll it back a little bit and talk about what is, like, how do we want to define, or what's a meaningful way to define value when we're looking at it from this specific marketing lens? Because even as my brain says the word value, there's lots of different interpretations of what
Indeed.
is valuable.
Indeed. So in research, when we conceptualize, so to speak, conceptualize the word value, is the perceived benefit that I'm going to get as a customer from my exchange of interest, money, and longevity. So it's not only about money. If you consider your product only to be monetary based or monetary centered, you are way off with your customers. It's not about money, it's about longevity, it's about care, it's about um, belongingness, to belong to a certain brand. All of these elements, they are funneled towards the word value. So it's the exchange of the benefit. It's the benefit, what I'm going to get as a customer. Benefit is the key word here when it comes to value. So I value this brand because it gives me security. I value this brand because it's cheap. I value this brand because it's convenient. I value this brand because it has an international flair. I value this brand because it's scarce, for example. So there are different interpretations of the word value, but it's the benefit that I perceive or I get when I exchange money, time, resources, and um, longevity.
Mhm. I think you make a really good point too from a marketing point of view. So we're talking about the role of marketing in this value chain. We might look at like the actual perceived value and exchange of money as like a sales, as a sales role, right? But this concept of the longevity and the interest, I think falls like squarely on the shoulder of marketers, right? Like how not actually, let's talk about this, because I think there's a lot of people who are like, I just need to show people my value. Right? And then we have websites and we have social media posts and we have trade show booths and we have all these areas where people are trying to show you or kind of convince you of the value versus like being valuable. Right? So like creating value for somebody in an meaningful interaction.
Mhm.
So what are some of the things that come up for you, Islam, when we talk about the difference between like, we know our value and we're going to show it to you,
Mhm.
or like, come and participate
Mhm.
in this value?
As you know, Tracy, there's the push and pull strategy in marketing and sales. So some companies they push towards giving information, shoving information into the face of the customers, shoving, we are valuable, we are nice, we are good, we are whatever. And there is the pull strategy. The pull strategy is the best and the most perfect strategy ever. Because, in my opinion, it depends on being marketable, being authentic, being some sort of a company that basically attracts people to be part of the bigger picture of the company itself. It's not about the products or the services. I would like to be part of the company because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel better. It makes me a better human being using the products and services of this company. So that's really, and this is the real difference between sales and marketing. Marketing, they are trying to build the persona, they are trying to build the company's overall image. But sales, they try to convert the customers to buying customers. And that's also the difference between push and pull, because sometimes the push and pull is the difference between customer marketing and sales. And the push and pull can be a strategy that the company is using towards shoving information, shoving data, shoving whatever, or attracting customers to it through value driven activities like the booth, like the events, like the all what you have mentioned. So, in my opinion, it's better to attract rather than to push. Attract customers that are congruent with your values, with your ethos, with whatever that you are trying to provide in this world. We as marketeers are the backbone of every economy that we operate in, and this is a crucial point that I'm trying to make in every conversation that I take on. Marketing is the backbone of every economy. Marketing does not only shape products, it shapes minds. It shapes how people can buy things on a regular basis and attract the right things or the, detract the negative things. So this is the really, marketing is more than an vocation, is it's something bigger than that, way bigger than that.
Well, I definitely agree with that. I want to come back to what you said about this concept of value driven activities. Um, how how does an individual brand influence what is a value driven activity? Because the reason I ask is that we are living in a time of digital information availability, right?
Mhm.
There is lots of information. There's lots of information about what everyone is doing, right? And every other business owner has published a book on what they do and then try and like resell their system to other people's. And so I think often people assume that there is a like one set of value driven activities. And if I just do that one set of value driven activities, which is the set of like all people are doing the same set of activities, that I will be successful. What are your thoughts in that arena?
This is basically, it's really important to understand that value driven activities are different from one company to the other. So one company can afford to do value driven activities, some other company do it organically. So it's not I mean, the determined factor here is how the company wants to portray itself with the available resources that can be used to attract the customers that they are trying to attract. So, for example, if there's a huge budget, and for sure, nowadays we are facing tightened budgets in marketing departments, and the activities that we are seeing are minimal, and we are trying to do our best with the customer's budget. customer's brief versus the customer's budget. So basically, we're trying to do whatever that we can to accommodate the needs and the wants of the customers. I mean, some customers, they don't care about the budget, and some customers, they do our budget savvy. Um, we always have fights with the finance department about how we will be spending money and the return on investment. And this is a really critical discussion that we are taking on every time, every single time that we are doing an activity. So we are facing face to face. We're facing the finance department in a very continued manner, that they would like to see results, and we would like to take action all the time, and action that is quick, fast, and efficient. I'm not saying that the finance department are not, or the exco, for example, are not in a position that allows them to ask questions, but I'm saying that they should cut the marketing department a slack, because basically the marketing department is trying to do its best. They are trying to create activities that will yield results that they see from a gut perspective, and from their experience, and from the market, and from the research they do. Sometimes we have to share these researches and share these results with them, as the finance department and exco, and tell them how we can operate based on the budget that they give us. And that's okay, that's fine. But budgets nowadays are tightened, and value driven activities are seeing a cut down. And it boils down to the fact that as a company, we would like to use the available resources so that we can navigate the scarcity of resources that we have. So, for example, small to medium enterprises, they face this all the time, all the time. They don't have the resources enough to spend on a specific marketing activity. That's why they need to outsource some of their activities. That's why they need to cut on some of the activities, or even the stakeholders that are under the company or internally to the company, they need to be cut off because of the expenditure. So, and by the way, I blame COVID for this, Tracy. I blame COVID for this. COVID has really shifted the way that we do business in terms of um, jobs, in terms of budgets, in terms of everything. COVID has really hit us hard to the core, and basically shifted the way that we do business and how we are perceived. And in the time of COVID, I was asked a question: how can a company portray itself or market itself to its customers based on the current circumstances that are like harsh, and there are no budgets and there are no audience? Everybody is at home. And that's why I wrote my book, SMEs and Marketing Guide Through COVID-19, with examples on how people can use community-based marketing to elevate the value-driven activities into community-driven activities. And that's how you win the community, by elevating yourself to being part of the community instead of working in silo, working alone. So you work with the customers, you work with the community that you're trying to work with. You're working with government organizations that will elevate the benefit of the customers, that will elevate the well-being of the customers. And that's how you win the customers themselves.
Yeah, I think it's even interesting. Like, one of the specific examples that I love that came out of COVID is that there's a group of people, and it seems bigger now, but I think it's just as more visible now, that do want to support local. We've had economic challenges in Canada because of one of our neighbors deciding to make crazy economic decisions that have impacted us drastically. And it's another thing that has shifted people to be like, let's shop local, let's support local. And that isn't something, I mean, again, like, there were always people who supported local, but it wasn't a primary driver for a lot of people before. And it has now become a primary driver for a lot of people. And I think what we also can fail to give enough consideration in this value chain of marketing is that if our customers change, our perceived value changes to them. Even if like exactly what I do, the product I have is exactly the same, or the service that I have is exactly the same, if the people go through a transformation that makes them perceive value differently, first of all, I don't control that, right? Like I can't control and be like, no, don't go on that journey. People are going to do it if that's their, what is important to them. But now I've gotten to a point where like my perceived value has changed seemingly overnight, even though I didn't do anything different. The world did something different and a global pandemic did something different. But that doesn't mean that I haven't kind of broken the historic value chain to a point where I'm like, well, now the way I need to provide value to my audience is different, or maybe it's a different group of people I provide value to. But can you share a little bit about these like shift points where like we've now realized, either because we've changed as a business or our customers have changed, that now our value, perceived value, is different, and I want to generate more perceived value. What does that look like in terms of a transformation?
Actually, there's a position that's it's being created in every organization nowadays. It's called the digital transformation or marketing transformation officer. And this position is specifically for coping with the new paradigm of the world that we are living in. And this chief officer of transformation, marketing transformation, or digital transformation is responsible for not only overseeing the changes that are internal to the company or the organization, but also to the changes in the pests, political, economical, societal, whatever, So basically, the world nowadays has shifted towards more value-driven activities, sort of speak. So, for example, the dollar that I used to spend 5 years ago is much way valuable nowadays than I used to spend it 5 years ago. Why? Because everything now became of value. The value itself of the dollar, not the dollar as a currency, I mean the whatever the currency is, has shifted. So whatever what was worth $1,000 before now is worth $5, and whatever that was worth $100,000 now is worth $5,000. And people are really sensitive towards these changes. That's why they are very practical and pragmatic about buying stuff. That's why I read a study in the Journal of Marketing about buying luxury stuff during COVID. So, surprisingly, people used to buy online without experiential marketing. They used to buy Louis Vuitton and Gucci and all of these brands online, and the spend on luxury stuff increased because people stayed at home and they wanted to spend something on while staying at home. They didn't have the luxury to travel. They didn't have the luxury to go somewhere else to buy stuff. They didn't have the luxury to go to the store, but the spend increased. But a drastic decrease after COVID has ended in the luxury stuff, and the luxury shopping has drastically decreased after COVID. Why? Because people nowadays have the freedom of buying stuff that's from everywhere from the world. Nowadays, a shop in China can sell stuff that's luxurious and can sell you the same stuff that they sell to Louis Vuitton. So the source, you can go to the source that sells you stuff instead of going and buying higher than the price item from the supplier. So the merchant, sorry. So basically, the world has changed. Everything has changed. Luxury lost its meaning. Working from home has gained momentum. Working in the office in a hybrid, like people nowadays, they say, I would like to work hybrid. I would like to work from home. I would like to work remotely. These things have developed through time because of COVID and because of the change in perceptions and perspectives and the efficiency of the buying cycle. Even the buying cycle has changed. That's why life cycle marketing is important nowadays, because I would like to generate more money from the customers I have now than to look for other customers. But again, looking for new customers has changed. So looking for new customers now costs less than attaining to your current customer base. Why? Because basically of the digitalization of the shopping platforms, the AI that's used to guide you to purchase stuff that's online. The Amazon has become a marketplace for everyone to buy from. There are many shops nowadays that provides you the ability and flexibility to ship stuff from overseas. So the world has changed. Everything has changed, and I think it's because of COVID. And it probably will take other 10, 20 years to be fixed. But this paradigm really has affected people and how people think and perceive value. And it goes back to the long time that we stayed at home. We realized that we don't need most of the stuff that we use. We don't need most of the luxurious stuff that we use, but we have free time. And in this free time, we created stuff. We created AI. We created many things, like shops. Like, the world has changed, Tracy, and COVID really is the source of all evils.
Well, and I mean, like, it's interesting to think about, because I'm a big believer in that, like, things happen at their time, right? So my belief is that this transformation was coming. COVID was the initiator of the transformation, but it was also, it's one of those, I have a kid right now who's learning how to ride a bike, right? And keeps saying, like, once you know how to ride a bike, you never forget how to ride a bike.
Mhm.
And these are similar to what we experienced during COVID. We experienced this. We can't put that back in the box. It's not, for so long, everyone was talking about going back to normal, right? Like, there is no going back to the way it was before. There is, I love what you said about, because last week we were talking about paradigms, marketing paradigms, and letting go of old paradigms, and this concept of that when paradigms shift, which is what happened during COVID, so does value perception. And again, as a business, I don't control that. I don't control international pandemics, right? I do not, but I have to deal with that.
We didn't count it in the SWOT analysis.
No, I don't think anybody put it in their SWOT analysis. And so now now we have what we have. And I want to go back to, because one of you referenced a few times this concept of available resources. And like, we need to work with what we have with the available resources. We talked a little bit about budget, but let's talk a little bit more about available resources in terms of the people that we have, the brand pillars that we've built, all of the other things that, let's say, if we're looking at it up to whenever COVID went like viral, right? When all of a sudden the entire world got COVID. I think it was March of like 2020, right? Like, up until that point, we've done a lot of building. We've got customer relationships. We've got a team. We've got a specific relationship with sales. We have stuff. We have resources. And how do we look at harnessing the same resources in a different way so that we can create something new?
We can't. That's the thing. Now everything is outsourced. Like I saw a video about a customer service representative from a hotel in Miami that's from India, and he was in the reception, and I was amazed about how things can be outsourced. Even the receptions are being outsourced. So I discussed in one of my articles the fact that even the agency model will shift. There will not be agencies anymore because of the influencer economy, because of the creators economy, and people will resort towards the influencers to create for them a campaign from A to Z with the design, with the briefs, with everything. So even the paradigm has shifted for agencies, and I think in the future there would be no more agencies. um, the future does not hold any agency in the horizon, because basically agencies are hierarchy based. They take long time, long hours to think and to brainstorm and to take decisions. The company also takes time to approve and to disprove and to revise and to advise and to spend budgets and all of that. And the retainer cost, talk about the retainer cost. The retainer cost is way high nowadays for these companies to they have to cut on cost, and they have to cut on teams actually to be efficient and effective in terms of the cost that they produce for the customers. Because we said before, the budget is small, the requirements is so big. That's why we need micro teams that work basically um, on project basis, that can initiate a project and create a project and execute a project basically um, in conjunction with the brand's ethos. They will not, by the way, many companies nowadays laid off their entire marketing department. Why? Because they think that they are costing them lots of money than what they are bringing in to the company, and they are depending on micro teams, as I said before. And I have been discussing with many companies the fact that they would like me to join as a micro manager. Micro manager means micromanaging a small team to uh, to to efficiently and effectively drive attention and retention towards the activities of the company. And I have some reservation about this concept, because basically I need to know the company from inside outside to understand how can I execute campaigns. I cannot be working basically on freelance or um, like some temporary time project to execute a company. I can't do consultancy. I can consult a company on how to fix a problem or a dilemma, but managing a team, creating briefs, creating all of the um, collateral, the all of these, they take time and they take expertise from inside within the company. They take time and they take expertise, and that's the key here. So we need to understand basically the company inside out so that we can effectively and efficiently drive value driven activities towards the company. If I don't know what they are doing in other departments, how can I create value for them? If I don't know how they are doing in the sales department, how can I create value for them? Value for the sales department can be, for example, NQLs, can be SQLs, can be marketing collateral, can be events, can be whatever. If I don't understand how they operate, if I don't have the time, I don't get the time to sit with each and every. I do audit the company before I get into the inside the company. I do audit the company, so I can understand how they operate, how they think, what the exco needs, what the exco wants and demands. What do they need attention? Do they need above the line, below the line, through the line? What kind of lines they need, so I can at least have an understanding of their basic requirements, so that I can operate efficiently and effectively. But micro teams has shifted that, and micro teams are led by people who are not into marketing, deeply into marketing,
Hmm.
and they take the shell of the marketing world, and they start to operate based on that activity. So they have been into sales, they have been exposed to sales, they have been exposed to some marketing knowledge, but they have not actually been into marketing as an experienced professional. Um, I call them the passing by team that basically can do the job, source for you stuff, do for you some stuff, and then they can go away. That's it. And you can and they are replaceable. But true marketing professionals who really work to the core of the company, who understand it in and out, they stay in the company for a long, long, long time. That's why Apple, they don't have departments, they have committees. They have a committee that's responsible for Mac, they have a committee that's responsible for iPhone, for the phones, for whatever. And they stay for a long time together. That's why they elevate their pitch in the market, and that's how they keep up a notch to the competitors, and people buy from them because they are unique and because they are different.
And I think there is like, I mean, I use Apple for a lot of examples as well, but there is a piece of like the internal interest here, right? Like if I'm going to be on a committee for the iPhone, I probably have some kind of passion about that product and how we can continue to make it better and how it already makes lives better and what we can tweak and what we want to keep and how we want to talk to customers about that. Like there is an internal buy-in. And one of the things that, well, first of all, before I jump into that, I want to recognize Darren's comment here about laying off the marketing department as a way of cutting your sales department's leg, which is exactly what you referenced as well, Islam. But I feel like this direction of outsourcing everything, which is interesting because this came up in this episode and last week's episode about the marketing agency and how maybe it's reached its level of productivity and is needing to be retired. But marketing agencies have always been a way to outsource, right? So outsourcing has been there. And when we're looking at these outsourcing, and I mean, I work mostly with small businesses. I hear a lot of people who say like, I just don't want to think about this. And I'm like, but then who thinks about it, right? Like I'm a consultant and then you hire me for 6 months and then you decide that ChatGPT knows more than me and you just like go with that. And the part of the problem is that you've decided not to care. And so it's one thing to say like, I don't have the level of expertise. I don't want to execute like all of the things. That's fair. But this, I don't want to have to think about that, right? Like, this really, you don't, as a business owner, want to think about getting customers so you have a sustainable business? What are you thinking about? Like, I can't care about that more than you care about that. If you're not going to care about it, then no, you might as well go get the cheapest person off of Fiverr because they're not going to care about it either. At least you're on the same page.
True. Yeah, of course. True. And by the way, these marketing professionals who call themselves marketing professionals, they have some exposure to marketing as a realm, but they have never really like got into depth in depth with the company itself, with the expertise that's needed to operate a marketing department from 0 to 5 members, 10 members, whatever the members are. And also ChatGPT is also a dilemma. Like AI, like I'm a big proponent. I'm a big believer in AI. Don't take me wrong. I'm a big believer in AI, but AI is just an assistant. It's just a tool for you to facilitate, for you to brainstorm. But it's not something that basically you can count on to run a whole department from 0. You can't even if you would like to use the prompt engineer who's a marketeer to do it for you. At least,
I was having coffee with my friend Dan Julian yesterday, and we were talking about this. And he says one of his favorite examples is like there's a difference between someone putting me as an amateur baker in a kitchen with all of the same tools that a professional baker has in the outputs, right? So if AI is your kitchen, we can say, hey, everyone gets the same kitchen, but an expert is going to use that kitchen better. Right? A marketing expert is going to use AI better to get marketing insights. Any like, pick your poison in terms of what industry you want to put, but this is true, right? The expertise is reflected in how people use the AI. And so I always say AI is the great amplifier, right? Like it amplifies what you bring to it. If you bring expertise, it can amplify expertise. If you bring, I don't know, tell me what to do, energy, then it'll tell you what to do. Whether or not you should do that is a completely different thing, falls into the stupid part, stupid marketing. But like, this is marketing. Okay, let's talk about this. I didn't really anticipate going in this direction with the show, but I do think that you used the word depth a couple of times. I believe that value comes from depth. I believe that expertise comes from depth. And so if people who are watching this show are looking at getting support, so maybe like fully outsourcing marketing, but getting support on their value chain from a depth perspective, what are some of the things that people should be asking the quote unquote marketing experts they're talking to see if they're capable of bringing that kind of depth to the conversation?
They should be asking them, why do you care about joining the company? Like, for example, when I get interviewed, or when I would like to join a company, I ask myself a question: why would I like to join this company? Would I add value to this company? And sometimes I decline. Sometimes there are companies that basically they are doing great stuff on their own. I tell them, why do you need a marketing manager? Why do you need a marketing director or a CMO? You are doing great on your own. You don't need a marketing manager or director or CMO. And basically, this is the clever way of doing marketing, because basically, if things are moving smoothly, you are going to be the chaos that's coming to ruin everything in the marketing department, ruin everything in the company, and be the hurricane that like demolishes everything that's neat and everything that's fine and dandy in the marketing department and in the company. So instead of looking for a perfect situation where you can't solve any problem, you look for problems first. You ask them, what's your problem? And if I can help solving this problem or no. If you can, then you accept. If you can, then you simply decline and look for another opportunity. And that's the way that's distinguished between a good marketeer and a bad marketeer. A good marketeer will ask the right questions in order for them to be able to join a specific company. A bad marketeer will join a company for whatever the reason is, just for monetary reasons. They would like to get paid. And by the way, don't get me wrong, we all need to get paid and we all need money. But at the end of the day, it boils down to your intention of doing better at your job. Longevity, as I said before. Would you like to have this opportunity for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Or would you like to have for 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Would you like to be the CMO of a company for a long time so that you can lead and be the CEO at that company for in the future? Or would you like to stay at your place and just stay there without doing anything and just operating this, keeping an eye on the operations and keeping an eye on whatever that's happening in the marketing department, and everything is running smoothly? And thank you very much. And thank the EXCO, thank the employees, and thank everyone who's working under your supervision. That's not how marketing is done. Sorry, marketing is done in a way that with a passion. If you have the passion, you will not be feeling like you're working. If you feel that you are working a day in your life in marketing, then you are in the wrong profession. Because marketing, we work 24/7 and we work all the time. We work during weekends, we work during holidays, we work during every time. We are the facilitators of the people's happiness. As I said, we are the backbone of the company. While people are celebrating in their holidays, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Ramadan, whether it's Eid, whatever, while people are celebrating, we are at the back scene trying to orchestrate a campaign for them to be able to have a good bonding with the company, so that they can relate to the company, resonate with the company. And that's the difference between a good marketeer and a bad marketeer, Tracy.
Yeah, I love that. And Joy here sharing in the comments that what are your ethical values and do you embody that via the work that you take on? And I think that I mean, and there's different people. There's people at different points in their career, and I'm also a big believer in that. Like, marketing doesn't convince anybody of anything. Like, if somebody is already convinced that all they need is a social media manager and they're going to pay them this teeny tiny amount of money to just post on social media every day, and that's what they need, then like I can't convince you that that's not what you need until you try that and it didn't work for you, and then maybe we can talk about it. But like, this is the thing that I do think is interesting about the micro teams and the prevalence of fractional resources, again, not just in marketing, but in all areas, is that what if all you need is for someone to come in and be like, I'm going to focus on this. Right? Like, I'm focusing on making sure that the marketing systems are generating something with the investment that we are giving them. If you were continually investing your money in a RRSP and it was continually going down, it was continually losing you money, you would stop investing in that thing. Right? This is what marketing is doing every day. And having somebody who can just like be that person who keeps their eye on that and is like, okay, these are the things that are working, these are the things that aren't. We can try and pivot the things that aren't towards things that are, or we can take them away and just like continue to iterate towards the most applicable value that the market is seeing right now. And actually, a couple episodes ago, Mark Storyber was on, and he was talking about how he pivoted his own career as a marketer through these different value perceptions of what the market needs. And if we, like you said, Islam, if we want to be the CEO of a company for 20 years, 50 years, like 50 is getting on the edge of it probably, but like if we want to be, hopefully you're retired by then, because even if you started your business when you're 20, then that means you're 70. But like, this isn't a math show, everybody. The point is, if you're in something for the long term, you're probably going to have to evolve something. Right? Any of the companies that have been big companies, even if you look at like Apple in the 70s versus Apple now, right? Like, these are two very different businesses. The way they do business is different. Their product book is different. How they market is different. Like, businesses go through transformations. And I mean, we could keep talking about this, but I'm realizing the time is that like, if we can intentionally put effort behind the perception, the value perception that we have in the market, then it creates very good data for us to make business decisions that can allow us to stay relevant, even though seemingly the world is getting just more and more unpredictable by the day. And we might feel like we're chasing. I think the intentionality is something that can bring it back to how are we focusing on making sure we are set up for success in these areas.
True. I agree with you 100%.
Awesome, Islam. So, couple things. First, give us last thoughts, wrapping up the value chain of marketing. What is the like key takeaways that you would reiterate for our listeners today? And also, where can people find you if they would like to continue the conversation?
If you would like to be in marketing, learn the basics, and then have some expertise, and then work in marketing as a junior marketeer, and then go to the take the ladder of the marketing realm. Like, don't jump into being the director, or because I see Generation Z specifically, head of company, head of marketing, head of whatever. They are the CEO, they are the CMO. And they just graduated a couple of months ago or something. And I totally against that. If you would like to learn marketing, learn from the basics and be a good marketeer from the inside to the outside, so that you can have the basics and you create the marketing gut. That's how you can become a good marketeer, and that's how you can look for longevity in marketing. People can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm the marketing maestro, or they can connect with me via email, my first name, last name at hotmail.com. I'll be more than happy to assist anybody who's looking for consultancy, who's looking for a chit chat, even in marketing. I'm all ears. Um, like there's no problem. I dedicate 30 minutes of my calendar to understand your problem, and then if I can help, I will help. If I can't help, I will refer you to someone else who can help in that domain or in that field. So reach me out on LinkedIn or reach me out via email. I'm available all the time. So and also try like buying my book, SMEs and Marketing Guide Through COVID-19, and it's on Amazon. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Islam Gouda, and also listen to my 100 Minutes to Acing Your Marketing Game. It's a wonderful series that resonated with marketers worldwide, and I think it's a great project. And we spoke about it, Tracy, before, but we don't have the time to reiterate, but like we can put in the link to these stuff on the chat. I thank everyone, and thank you very very much, Tracy, for the wonderful conversation today I had with you. It's really stimulating to the mind on how we can speak about marketing together as professionals and as colleagues in the marketing realm. And I think that marketing again is more than a vocation. It's a life path. It's something that people follow, and it's something that people with passion will follow and will continue to follow until they succeed or until they be at the top of their game. So keep acing your marketing game, and keep doing your best in the marketing realm.
Ah, I love it. And this is a great challenge for all of us, right? Like even to look at the marketing game we're playing today and compare it to that. Do we think that's our A game? Maybe there's more up than we can find. I want to thank you so much, Islam, for sharing so
Thank
many
you. Thank
awesome
you, Tracy.
nuggets today. I also want to shout out to Joy and Darren and Lisa and Jackie and Omar and Christiana who are in the comments. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us and participating in the conversation. As I said at the beginning, it makes it more robust. And please, 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 if the value chain of marketing or creating value in marketing or the relationship between value and marketing is something that is living in your zone of experience right now, don't let this be the last conversation you have about that. Let it be the first of many conversations that you have. So get into the conversation with Islam, with me, with each other. Let's not let this be like, we solved the marketing value chain problem. We didn't do that. So like, just in case anybody was wondering, that wasn't the intention either. But like these conversations, they create the next step, right? So when we're talking about the value chain of marketing, this is a chain, right? Like it's one link. It's one link in a grander chain. The chain doesn't get any longer if you don't add any more links. So please feel free to add more links and reach out to us, and we can give you access to more links. As well, and actual links and connections and all of that good stuff. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. There will not be a show next week. Most people probably won't notice, but like we are not on next week. I will be out of town, but we will be back in 2 weeks, and we'll get to have more practice of doing what you would do. So until then, everybody, permission to do you. Have a good one.
Bye.